again. Whoops. Okay, so this background noise that you hear is my noisemaker, just so that way any type of outside noise will at least be kind of dimmed a little bit. So if you do hear that shh, it's just the noisemaker, just so that way again there's not a whole bunch of background noise. I had such a good time during our comedy live stream, or why laughter is important to happiness. I had a blast. That was so much fun. I love engaging with everybody. If you do see me looking down or looking to the side, it's because I'm trying to make sure that I stay on top of the live chat, and also because I have notes. I had to have notes for this one because I was like, this is something that I've been that's been on my heart for a really long time. I've been wanting to talk about this, and steps and stuff that I myself have taken, actions I myself have taken, as well as my clients, right? But that doesn't mean that this can't be something that is not fun. It can definitely be fun. That's why I love the live chat so very much, and that's why I am so excited to get into today's topic. So, today what I'm talking about is developing self-worth. So this is super crucial. This is essential for a healthy and a fulfilling life. Developing your self-worth is going to take you so far. It's going to really show you not only who you are and help you understand who you are, but also show you what your strengths are and how to celebrate those strengths. So what it is in a nutshell, right? It's recognizing your inherent value, totally independent of external validation or achievements, right? So this is all coming from yourself. This is not coming from other people. This is not coming from anyone else, really, right? Like sometimes people can benefit and people can be of help, to developing it, but in all honesty, in order for you to be a fully self-sustained person, it has to come from you. It has to be intrinsic. So I just wanted to kind of show and talk about and provide ideas, practices you can do to help develop your self-worth, okay? So the first one is practicing self-compassion. Now, I know this is something that people have heard millions of times, right? So what is it? It's being kind to yourself. It's understanding that if you have that negative self-talk, if you have any of that noise in your head, right? Like that constant, or maybe not constant, but for me in the past, years and years ago, I had the most horrible self-talk in the world, and I would always bring myself down, and I would always just say the most awful things about myself. And for what? There was no reason for me to do that. There was no reason for me to be there, but my brain wasn't fully developed. That really doesn't happen until you're about 25 years old. So I was there, I guess, maybe because of immaturity, and also because I simply did not believe in myself. So being kind to yourself, right? Just making sure that you are eliminating the negative self-talk. That's probably the biggest aspect of that. And forgiving yourself. So I've talked about this several times in the past, but when it comes to forgiving yourself, right, that's so much easier said than done, because we have to be able to identify that yes, maybe we have certain flaws, or yes, we've made certain mistakes, and yes, maybe that has impacted our life in a way that maybe we didn't want it to. That's okay, because everyone has those things. The biggest thing is understanding that if you keep on holding on to it, if you keep on going back to those memories, to those instances in your life where you were uncomfortable because of something that you did and you're stuck in the past, that's not going to help you in any way. It's just going to keep on bringing you down and keep you potentially in that negative self-talk as well. So the next thing is establishing healthy boundaries. Again, another thing I've talked about quite a few times. When it comes to establishing healthy boundaries, the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing that I can tell you is learning how to say no. Now, it can be gracefully, it can be kindly, but learning how to say no, like understanding that your time, your energy, and your money is incredibly precious, and what you invested in matters, right? So there's going to be some things people are going to come to you and say or offer you certain things or whatever it may be. It's just not in alignment with who you are, with your values. Just say no. If somebody that's like maybe potentially toxic is trying to kind of reel you in a little bit, just say no. Which I know sounds very much like the whole like, well, that didn't work for drugs, so why is it going to work for this? Because saying no to a person is very important to be able to master. Not having guilt, not having shame, not feeling like, oh, I'm letting somebody down. You're not letting anybody down, right? Having healthy boundaries is more important. The other thing too is prioritizing your needs, whatever those are, whatever they may be, making them the priority and not falling into, again, the people pleasing. The people pleasing is a killer, I'm telling you. It's such a killer. It's something that I personally have spent years and years and years in, and it did me absolutely no good because all it did was bring more shame and more guilt when I wasn't pleasing the people I felt like at that moment I had to please. It was totally useless. So I highly do not suggest falling into that, or if you're in that right now, finding your way out, right? And developing your self-worth is a way to find your way out of the people pleasing. So the next thing is going to be surrounding yourself with positive influences. I cannot tell you how big this is, right? So choosing supportive relationships, all kinds of relationships, right? Your friendships, your partner, even, the relationships that you have with your family members. I think a lot of people can identify with the fact that there's some people that just aren't super supportive, maybe in our own family, that we need to kind of distance ourselves from. It's not about getting rid of somebody. It's not about excommunicating somebody or anything like that. This is not a cult. This is simply like understanding, okay, this person is not super supportive, or this person is, just kind of makes my vibe off, right? Makes my energy feel off. I'm going to go ahead and distance myself from this person. The other thing too is seeking community, and that is really what I'm trying to create with this channel, is creating a community of people that can be supportive of each other in their journeys of growth, in their journeys of maybe fitness, in their journeys of whatever the goal may be, right? I need goals to be shared in order for me to be able to personally identify how this community can be helpful. But knowing that there's other people out there that are like you, that are like-minded, or joining a support group, or just finding like-minded people that can get around you, that can support you, and you can as well support them, right? Because you have a lot to offer. You just may not know it yet. So the next thing is practicing gratitude. Another thing I always talk about, but it's so important. So I have a gratitude journal. A lot of my clients have a gratitude journal. It's one of those things where you can do it daily, you can do it weekly, you can do it just whenever the vibe hits you. But I like the idea of doing it daily, of listing off the things that happened or the things that you're just grateful for. It can be people, it can be situations, it can even be things and aspects about yourself that you're grateful for, right? Your abilities, the things that you bring to the table that you're grateful for, that have helped you maybe overcome certain obstacles, or have helped you maybe succeed at something or in something. It's, just one of those things where when you are practicing daily gratitude, you are in a place of a really high vibrational energy, right? And a lot of people, I kind of lose people when I'm talking about the high vibrational energies and all that stuff. I'm okay with that because I know that it is super true. It has been so real for me. It has been so real for some of my clients. So it's totally fine, no worries. The other thing too, and I kind of already stated this, is gratitude for yourself, right? So having that gratitude for yourself, I told you I took copious amounts of notes. um, Having gratitude for yourself, again, that acknowledgement, and it is intrinsic, so that's why it's going to help you develop self-worth. So the next thing is challenging negative thoughts, right? So a big component of this is identifying what your negative beliefs are. Because I've said this before, right? Your thoughts lead to your beliefs, right? That's what happens. There's actually 3 steps, but I forgot the middle one, so forgive me. But it's just one of those things where you have to understand, what are your beliefs? And the other thing too to really think about is, do you have limited beliefs, right? Are you in this place where you're thinking, oh, I can't do this because of that, or I can't do this because someone told me I couldn't do that, or I can't do, like, whatever it may be, right? Limiting yourself in a lot of different areas because you simply just have limiting beliefs, that's all, you know? The other thing is reframing your self-talk. So we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. But when we're talking about reframing our self-talk, if we know that we have a lot of negative self-talk, if we know that we have a lot of stuff that kind of comes up, you know, it can be intrusive thoughts. I mean, it can be a whole bunch of things, right? But just having that negativity in your head, learning how to reframe them, using maybe affirmations, or just maybe simply combating those thoughts and saying, wait, hold on a second, this is not true. This is me catastrophizing. This is me being in a place of, you know, scarcity, maybe being in like this type of like survivalish mode. No, you don't need to be there. You really don't. So reframing your self-talk, replacing the negative thoughts with positive ones, that's going to be a big part of developing your self-worth, right? And changing where you're at currently to becoming what you want to be in the future. The next thing too is recognizing your achievements and your strengths. So again, not relying on external validation, not relying on other people telling you, hey, you did a great job on this. Like, that's great and all, don't get me wrong, but you have to be able to acknowledge it yourself. It has to come from a place within you to be like, oh yeah, okay, I achieved this, and that's an awesome thing about me, and oh, I have a whole bunch of strengths that I never really spent the time to think about and to acknowledge in myself. So understanding that that is such an important component, again, of developing your self-worth, then you can kind of then move forward and understand, I want to highlight my achievements. I want to highlight my strengths. I want to use them because they can not, it's obviously good for you, but maybe in the future you could be helpful and beneficial to others. You just never know. The next thing, again, this is just notes, that's why I'm looking down. I've been working on this for a minute. Participating in meaningful activities. So that can be pursuing things like your hobbies, your passions, right? Whatever they may be. One of my hobbies that I love to do is diamond art. So diamond art is like the perfect thing for anybody that's a little bit OCD or a lot of it OCD, right? It's very similar to like painting by numbers, basically. You're putting the dots right on the numbers or the letters or whatever that they're supposed to be, and then you're just kind of going from there, and then overall creating this beautiful picture, but with these like plastic, they're not diamonds, obviously. It's plastic dots and stuff like that that make it look amazing. I was heartbroken. Okay, so I was working on this astronaut looking thing in like space, and it was super cool. It's adhesive, okay, so that's why the dots stick to the paper. I had another piece of paper fall on top of it, so it completely screwed up like a whole like section of it, and this is like a big canvas. Screwed it up. I could not complete it, and I was like, I'm the kind of person that when I start something, I love to complete it. That like totally, it was like, it ruined me. I was like, I have to keep all paper, like I have to keep all like side stuff away from this light it's like a light up table that I have. Um, but yeah, so hobbies, passions, right? Whatever those are, pursue them. They are important, again, to developing your self worth. The other thing, too, is volunteering or helping others. So I volunteer 2 to 3 days a week for, like, each instance is about 3 to 4 hours, right? So it's not like a super huge time investment, but it's something that makes me feel really good. I love the community there that I'm surrounded with, these amazing women that have been so incredibly supportive to me, that have been so incredibly kind to me, that have really like helped me, develop more and more girlfriends, right? And more people that I can have on my support team. I love it. So I love volunteering. I highly suggest it for people because it's something that takes you outside of yourself a little bit. And it's also a little, it's a way to add to your own like achievements, to kind of be like, okay, I fulfilled my good deed for the day. But you're gonna feel good about it, right? Like, I'm not joking around about it, I'm being very serious. Volunteering is such a wonderful experience. I highly encourage people to find something that they want to volunteer in. I have several clients that actually volunteer at like animal shelters and things like that. So their love of animals, while I may not share like a super big love of animals and things like that, that doesn't mean that other people can't. And I love that other people have that, compassion and love for those animals. So they'll go and they'll volunteer at like animal shelters. I think that's the main one that they do. Like, that's the one that I hear the most often, at least. So I'm like, okay, do that. It's really, really good for you. And then connecting with an animal too. Being able to just kind of have that, if not emotional connection, just having that like man's best friend, It's a really amazing thing, and it's super helpful, again, for developing self-worth. So the next thing is practicing mindfulness. I know this gets touted around all the time, but practicing mindfulness is actually really, really helpful. So one thing is to stay present, right? That's a big thing. So when we're focused on our past, right, when we're dwelling on our past, what is that doing for us now? That's taking us away from the present moment, okay? And then when we're thinking about the future, what happens with a lot of people is that it's not about this excitement about something that's upcoming. It's usually about worrying about something that's upcoming, or worrying about, whatever situation they happen to be in. And what I find is when you really just try to focus on being mindful, staying present, really like thinking about the thoughts that you're thinking and focusing in on staying right here in the right now, and not letting your mind wander to the past, not letting your mind worry about the future. Easier said than done, absolutely, right? So this is something that I still work on to this day. This is something that my clients still work on to this day. This isn't something that just gets fixed like that. It doesn't, right? It's just something that once you develop the practice, once you develop the habit, it's so much easier then to stay in the present moment and to really be engaged with whatever it is that you're doing, with the people that you're around, okay? Again, I'm looking down just because I have a whole bunch of notes. So the other thing too is non-judgmental awareness. So how to describe this? Non-judgmental awareness is basically giving yourself permission, right, to whatever thoughts come up, that they come up, but that you don't judge them. You don't say, oh, this is good, this is bad, or you don't react. That's the biggest thing, is not reacting to those thoughts, or even not reacting to certain emotions. Because we are often very reactive people naturally, right? We'll go into that flight or fight mode very easily. And rather than reacting, it's more about just observing, right? Observing your own behavior, observing your thoughts, observing what's going on around you. Making sure that, again, you're staying on a path of mindfulness, right? And making sure that you're staying engaged. That's a big thing. Staying engaged with whatever it is that you're doing in the current moment. Okay, so this one was big for me and so difficult for me for the longest time. So being able and having the ability to accept compliments. Oftentimes, people will shrug like all of the compliments off, or they'll kind of be like, oh, it really wasn't that big of a deal, or oh, it really wasn't, anything big that I did, or they'll like downplay their own achievements or whatever. And what that's also doing when you think about it is the person that gave you that compliment, it's kind of like, well, F you, right? Because I don't agree with your evaluation. Not that you need the external validation, I'm not saying that. But if someone does just give you a compliment, being able to gracefully accept it without saying like no or whatever, but just simply saying thank you. You can just say thank you and move on if that's what you want. You can absolutely do that. That's probably the best thing to do in the beginning of learning how to accept compliments and learning like how not to like completely bash other people's like thoughts and opinions of you. Again, you don't have to always accept everything, but when it comes to compliments, unless someone's just doing something to kind of like kiss your butt, and someone's just trying to like suck up to you, which I think we all know when that's happening. Like, we're all aware of that. I think most people actually do have that awareness, which I'm really glad that they do, so they don't get sucked into some BS, right? So being gracious, and then also learning to internalize positive feedback, but from trusted sources. That's the biggest part, is understanding like, okay, who can I actually trust that's objective? Who can I actually trust that isn't just going to be saying something to me? Or who can I rely on for some type of like actual like legitimate feedback, right? And learning to internalize it, especially when you trust them, especially when you know that they have your best interest in their hearts. Listen, internalize, accept it. That's the biggest thing, accepting it. Simply accepting it, right? You don't have to go into full like belief mode with it, but you can at least accept what someone is saying, if you so choose, right? Again, everything is about your choices and what you want to do. I can only provide the information and life experience that I've had. So the next thing is embracing perfection, which I did a video on not too long ago, right? So embracing your flaws, embracing those imperfections, understanding that you are definitely way more critical than anybody else will ever be about you, regardless of how you look, how you talk, how, like, whatever it is, the way you dress, right? You will probably be way more hypercritical than anybody else will be. So almost in a way, it's kind of like you've already prepped yourself for any type of negative feedback with all of that, right? So accepting flaws, and then the other one too is learning from mistakes. How can we do this? So we can look at a mistake as an opportunity for growth, right? An opportunity for growth. If we see our mistakes in that capacity, then we're not going to get hung up on the guilt and the shame and all of the BS that comes with that. We are instead going to be placing ourselves in this position of, I can grow. I can grow from this. I can learn from this. This is something that might help me in the future. This is something that might be like super important in the future, right? So I don't repeat this. Or so if I do repeat it, it's not as severe. The consequences aren't as major. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting through all this so fast. Wow. Okay. So, reflecting on the impact you've made. I have found that this has been something that's difficult for a lot of people to do, right? Because they don't want to give themselves those kudos, and they don't want to feel like they're being narcissistic or anything like that. That's not where this is coming from. Again, this is about building your self-worth. So, pondering what and who you've influenced, right? Really thinking about that. And kind of like, okay, like start to see like, well, I actually did make a positive impact on this person, or hey, I actually did kind of make a positive impact on this situation, or hey, I made this positive impact at work, right? I, helped whatever the situation was. So all of those things, right? Reflecting on them, pondering on them, super important. And then also recognizing your worth beyond your accomplishments. Even though it's great to be able to acknowledge our accomplishments, and we should acknowledge our accomplishments, we have to know that our worth in and of itself is not based on the accomplishments that we have, right? I believe personally that we were all made perfectly and imperfectly, right? But perfectly, right? We were all designed in a very specific way. We're all unique in our own particular ways, right? And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to kind of understand, like, okay, I'm unique. I have these, certain gifts. I have all this, knowledge about something. I'm good at what I do, whatever it is, right? It's recognizing that your value just is intrinsic, just who you are, right? Adhering and aligning with your personal values and your personal beliefs. Super important. Okay, the next thing is developing a strong sense of identity. So what I will say is with this one, me personally, I didn't have a super hard time with. I've kind of known who I am. I've kind of known, like, okay, I like to talk. Okay, I like to share information. Okay, I like to be helpful, right? I know those things about myself and about my personality. So you have to start from a place of knowing yourself, which I've talked about before, right? Knowing yourself, whether that is learning more just by thinking about, certain aspects of yourself, or if it's taking like personality tests, or if it's whatever it is that you want to do to learn more about yourself, journaling, right? And really kind of seeing like what your habits and your patterns are, and really understanding like, okay, this is how I feel, this is how I think, this is who I am, knowing who exactly you are. And then of course, being true to yourself. So if there's stuff that you don't agree with, if there's stuff that, just doesn't align with you, then always know, let's go back to what we said earlier, just being able to kind of say no, to turn certain things down when they're not going to serve you. And when I say that, what I mean is when they're not going to, help you increase your energy, or they're not going to help you spend your time wisely, or they're not going to help you, spend your money wisely, to be honest with you too, I mean, just thinking about things like that. And also knowing that authenticity reinforces self-worth. Again, authenticity reinforces self-worth. Be yourself. Simply be yourself, right? Maybe yes, there's things that need to be worked on. Maybe yes, there's growth that you want to have. Maybe yes, there's, certain little things. But don't let that F up, like, who you are now, right? What's the point? There is none. Like, there straight up is none. Do not let it F up who you are. Don't get caught up in what you could be. Don't get caught up again in thinking too much and worrying too much about the future. Don't get hung up on the past. Stay right here where you are and just be your real self. Be authentic, right? I will edit myself when I'm on live streams quite a bit in real life. Of course, not when I'm around my children, but in real life, yeah, I use profanity like a lot of other people do. But I try to, edit it a little bit. Now, does that mean I'm being inauthentic? No. All it means is that I'm trying to be respectful of my audience. I'm trying to be respectful of other people. And maybe there's some people that really don't appreciate that kind of language. That's fine. Whatever. It's not a big deal to me. It's just words. Okay? So, allowing yourself to embrace self-acceptance. Embracing it. Like, truly embracing it, right? Letting it sink in, right? Because our thoughts become our perspective. Our perspective becomes our reality. So, we really want to accept who we are flaws and all. It doesn't matter, if, you think that you have these huge major flaws. I think I have huge major flaws sometimes too, I'm not a perfect person, but that doesn't mean that I can't do what I do, and that doesn't mean that I can't help other people. I go through the same things as everybody else does. A lot of other people have experienced a lot of things that I've experienced. Maybe I've had a little more, whatever in the past, but I was able to get over it by really owning my self-worth, by really understanding that, like, the things that happened to me when I was younger are not going to define me in any capacity. I can't. Like, I refuse to, because it's just not in my DNA. It's not in my DNA to, hold like a prolonged, grudge against people that have done harm to me. It's just not who I am. I kind of see it more like, okay, maybe and this is going to be a little bit much for some people, but I see it as, did I play a part? Did I play a role? Did I put myself in a position for something like this to potentially happen that I could have actually taken myself out of? And if so, then I feel like I share part of the responsibility. Now, that's just me as a person. I don't push that on other people, because I understand that there's a lot of people that aren't ready for that type of thinking. That's totally okay. No worries. Another big thing too, letting go of comparisons. So this is something that in this day and age with social media, especially like Instagram, right? Like, that's probably the biggest thing. I don't post a lot on Instagram personally, not because I'm afraid of like comparing myself to my peers or comparing myself to my friends or any of that. It's just not, a super big thing for me personally. It's not something that I'm really good at keeping up with, because I tend to do a lot of digital detoxes just for, mental clarity and things like that. And that's just what I choose to do. But again, I don't force that on other people, but I do think that occasionally taking a digital detox would do wonders for hella people, I'll be honest. So yeah, letting go of those comparisons, letting go of what you think you should be, right? Getting rid of the shoulds and the musts. Completely, like, getting rid of all of that. Because it's not going to help you, it's not going to serve you, it's just going to put you in a place of guilt and shame. And those are the things in my life that I just try to avoid, because I'm like, you know what, whatever has happened has happened. I want to live in the present moment. I want to stay engaged. I want to be a good mom. I want to be a good coach. I want to be, XYZ. And you can put your list of the things that you want to be in this moment right now, right? So that's how I kind of think of all of that. And then the very last thing is developing resilience. Developing resilience is absolutely key to being able to develop your self-worth. Absolutely key. So the ability to bounce back, that always makes me think of that song, bounce back. It always makes me think of that. But bouncing back from setbacks, right? Not letting a situation that didn't work out for you, or a situation that, maybe didn't go the way you wanted it to, right? Not allowing that to hold you back. Not allowing that to be something that keeps you back. Because there's no point in that. Absolutely no point in it. All it is a waste of your energy, and your energy is incredibly important, and it is something that should be treated just like you would budget with your money, budget your energy. The things that you're spending your time thinking on, you have to really think about it. Everything is energy, right? This is energy. I am energy. You are energy. The wall over there is energy, like, straight up. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, honey. Absolutely, I understand. No worries. So, yeah, that bouncing back, right? Let's see, I don't know where this came from, but I wrote it down and I was like, I'm going to have to share this. So, resilience reinforces your belief in your ability to handle difficulties and challenges. I think that's so huge. I really do. I just think it is a big, big thing, right? Your ability to handle difficulties and challenges, because oftentimes we don't think that we can handle something difficult. Oftentimes we live in a place of fear, and it's like, I don't know why we do that. I don't know why we constantly go back to this like fear thing when we absolutely don't need to in any capacity. So when you have a setback, what is it? It's just another opportunity for growth. It's just a way that, hey, guess what? When you do bounce back, sorry. When you do bounce back, you will be so proud of yourself. It will obviously help you in developing your self-worth, and it is just absolutely crucial, right? Finding that, learning that skill, because it is a skill. It's very easy to give up. It's super easy to give up. There's countless numbers of people that have given up. There's been days, I mean, it's been a long time, but there's been days when I was like, yo, I just want to give up sometimes. Like on whatever endeavor I was pursuing, but I didn't. And I can't. Because then that would just be proving to myself, in a way, right? I'm a failure. And that's how so many people think, right? If they don't accomplish something all the way 100%, that they're a failure. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? That's my own limiting belief that I just shared with you. If I don't complete something, if I'm not successful at something, then I'm a failure. That's one of my limiting beliefs. Is it true? No. It's not true at all. I'm not a failure because I don't go 100% with absolutely every single thing, because there's going to be things that we're going to fail at, but we have to learn how to come back from that. Again, bounce bounce back from it. That song is now stuck in my head. I'm gonna be screwed the rest of the day. All right. And then also, when it comes to developing resilience, it is embracing challenges, right? So knowing that, yes, there's going to be things that are going to be challenging for us. Yes, there's going to be things that we're going to perceive, and from our current perspective, we're going to perceive as too difficult. But when you tackle a challenge, when you go ahead and try to meet it, right? Even if you don't succeed, the effort that you put in, the effort that you made is going to take you so far. Because especially when it comes to developing self-worth, absolutely, but also just with skills in life, with understanding that, hey, this might seem like I can't do it, this might seem like an overwhelming challenge, I might feel overwhelmed, whatever you may be feeling, right? But still attacking it anyways, still trying to achieve it anyways, despite all that, despite the fear, despite whatever's holding you back, which I guarantee you it's mainly limiting beliefs, right? Things that are keeping you in a box that you do not need to be in, because you're so much more than that. Maybe you don't realize it in this moment, but I'm trying to tell you, I don't have to know who you are to tell you that you are capable of so much that you can't even fathom or imagine from your current perspective, probably. But you can overcome nearly anything. It just really depends on having the foundation of self-worth, having the foundation of believing in yourself, and knowing that I'm not going to tell you to aspire to like some type of crazy greatness, because even with me, yes, I like to have things go to completion, but I'm not trying to aspire to some crazy greatness or anything. All I'm trying to do is to help people with certain issues and problems that seem to be common in our current society, and trying to provide solutions and tools for, developing your self-worth, but also just being a better human being, or being authentically yourself and simultaneously being better. Because when you're authentic, that's when you're your best self. So let's real quick just recap the points. It's like 3 pages of notes. Okay. So, practicing self-compassion, establishing healthy boundaries, surrounding yourself with positive influences, practicing gratitude, ideally daily, but I'm not going to push it on anybody. I get it. Everyone's at their own place. Challenging negative thoughts. Recognizing your achievements and strengths. Participating in meaningful activities. So, reminder on that one, your hobbies and interests and things like volunteering. Practicing mindfulness. Being present, being aware, not going to the past, not going to the future, but being present and engaged in the here and now. Accepting compliments. And again, not brushing it off, not, pushing people to the side or whatever, but honestly just accepting compliments with grace. Embracing imperfection, understanding that maybe, from your vantage point, you're like, oh, I'm so flawed, and oh, I'm so this. Thank you, Mac. Thank you. That's very sweet. Understanding that everyone has flaws, everyone has imperfections, we were created perfectly, in my personal opinion, but we still can develop. Oh, thank you. That's really, really sweet. So embracing perfection, and a part of that too is learning from our mistakes. That was very sweet, actually, to share that. Oh, thank you. See? Did I say thank you? No, and that was a form of a compliment. So it just goes to show you that it's very easy to not practice the things that I am talking about and to sometimes shrug things off. Why? Out of fear. That's where that comes from. Okay. Reflecting on the impact you've made. So this can be on other people, this can be on situations, this can be at work, right? But really reflecting on it and pondering okay, who have I influenced, who have I helped in a positive capacity. Developing a strong sense of identity. So even though this was very easy for me, or to a point, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy for you. So again, knowing yourself, there are tools out there to help you know yourself if you feel like you can't come up with that intrinsically. And then also being true to yourself, okay? Then it was allowing yourself to embrace self-acceptance, to fully embrace it, to fully own it, to be like, okay, I accept myself fully. And, that's awesome. And the last thing is to develop resilience. Oh my goodness! Hey, okay, so Mr. Narcissism, I made today's video the long form of yoga for you. You were the person I was shouting out. I just didn't want to say your handle or anything. But I made it for you with the idea of, okay, this is going to help with kind of what you had shared with me. So yeah, I'm so glad to see you on here. That's amazing. Okay, so yeah, developing resilience, bouncing back from setbacks, and embracing challenges. Okay, so that is the recap of what we talked about. Aw, thank you. It's good to see. Well, I guess I'm not seeing you, but it's good to read your live chat. Oh no, you're good. I love live chat. That's what I want. I want people to be engaging. That's the whole point of why I do live streams, is because it kind of feeds me too, right? It's one of those things where I love engaging with other people. I love being able to have a dialogue with other people. But I am super grateful for, there not being that onslaught like there had been before in the past. But yeah, I basically just wrapped up everything. This video will be made available, or this live stream, I'm sorry, will be made available as a video so everyone can kind of catch up on what I went over. But yeah, outside of that, if there are any questions, any comments, it doesn't necessarily have to be about developing your self-worth. It can be pretty much about anything within reason. And I say within reason because I got caught in a like political question the other time, and I was like, how the F do I answer this question? I was like, I feel like I'm getting caught in a trap. And I don't want to be there. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I'll definitely stay on for like a couple more minutes for any, questions, comments, things like that. And, if there is nothing, that's fine. There's no worries. I can definitely always talk. But yeah, having self-worth, right? That's like the basis of everything. Absolutely everything for you when it comes to your growth. With all that being said though, I think it's also super important to have fun, right? Because what is my tagline? Being well and staying wild. So I will share with y'all one of my, and it might already be, maybe it is on, so there's some videos from Triller in my shorts, right? But if you go to Triller, that's where you will see me in the more wild capacity. Running, okay. So then when it comes to running, what I'm gonna want to do is the ab and adductors. So let me stand up for a second. Okay. So our ab and adductors are here. Okay. So that's something that gets neglected a lot. What I would honestly suggest is I'll try to come up with a video for you, but what might help you more and quicker is using a foam roller, especially on your adductors, so the outside of your thigh, right? That's going to be absolutely key, absolutely essential. It's going to hurt if you haven't done it before. It's going to feel uncomfortable, right? And then a lot of like the, let's see, abductor stuff, we can handle that in yoga, but the adductors, yeah, that's a thing that I would definitely say work on. And the foam roller is also amazing for your quads. I can definitely handle like hamstrings, calves, all of that stuff. But yeah, if you want that added benefit, it's that. And I wish I had this on me right now. Hold on, let me just take a sip of this. I wish that I had it on me. But look up voodoo banding, okay? Yeah, okay, so you can actually also use the roller. Oh, I can't get to the door right now. But in my closet is where I keep my foam roller, and I'm always like bringing it out and stuff like that. But you can even roll out your shins on that too, right? So just depending on what your weight is and all that kind of stuff, keep all that in mind. But what I would say is that as long as with the foam roller, right? So you're going to have some options. You're going to have an actual foam roller. You're going to have the ones that are the hard plastic, and you're going to have the ones that have the little like things on them, right? And that's meant to break up your fascia. Whatever one you feel like is going to work for you the best, do it. But a hack is to go to some type of store. Here in the US, we have like Home Depot and Lowe's and things like that, right? So I guess like a home improvement, spot. And getting PVC pipe and just having them cut it for you, if they'll do that for you, having them cut it for you to be about the length of like a regular foam roller, you'll get the most benefit out of that. looking up voodoo banding as well. I voodoo band my calves a lot because for whatever reason, and I don't really run that much anymore, but for whatever reason, like my calves are always like not in the mood, like in any way. So voodoo banding is something that's super like amazing and cool. Basically, you're just wrapping a band right around the targeted area, so like your leg, right? And you're wrapping it super tight, like super tight to where you almost feel like there's not any blood flow, which sounds crazy, but just trust me on it. Once you have that in place, you kind of tuck the other end of the wrap into the wrapping that you've done on your leg. You're going to go ahead and take then that part of your body, you know, it can be your quads, hamstrings, whatever, and you can use your PVC pipe or your foam roller, whatever, you know, it is that you choose to get, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be so uncomfortable, but I promise you it is so worth it. The voodoo band, you only leave it on for maybe like maybe a max of 5 minutes. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Just because PVC pipe, like it's hard, right? And again, this is me coming from my CrossFit background, so I just found like that was so much better than just simply foam rolling. But yeah, so on that tangent, when you're talking to me about mobility, that's when I'm like honing in and I'm like, yo, that is my passion. When I was a CrossFit coach and a personal trainer, I invented this class called Flowbility. And what it was a little bit of, you know, yoga and stuff, but it was also a lot of mobility movements and concepts that I took from this book called Becoming a Supple Leopard. I always suggest this book, or I used to always suggest this book to my personal training clients, especially people that had issues with like mobility, and when it was like extreme, right? Because the other thing you want to think about is, yeah, same here, right? Like sometimes I neglect, and this is me, like especially when I was on my break, I completely was not on top of my stuff. But the other thing too is think about your body, right? Okay, so I'm just showing you this. So from here to here, and here to here, and same thing on your back, okay? So having that X, understand that this area is going to affect your left hip. This area is going to affect your right hip, right? So always remember the X. That's another thing too. A lacrosse ball, not like the actual like sporting lacrosse ball, but if you were to go onto Amazon, I'm sure you could find it. It's like a rubber ball, right? You can put that right about here, right? So that's where my, I know because I don't have my yoga clothes on. I wish I did. That's where your psoas is, okay? So using the lacrosse ball on your psoas is super helpful. When it comes to your back, going against a wall, having that lacrosse ball like back here, right? And then you're kind of rolling up and down. I'll show you the correct way. But rolling like up and down with the lacrosse ball, that is going to be super helpful, right? You can work on your traps, you can work on all of your back muscles. I keep on losing my connection for some reason. When you use the lacrosse ball on the arch of your feet, that is also a tremendous help. You can also use it on your calves. I mean, like all of these things were things that we used. You did catch it? Okay, cool. I'm so glad. Okay. But yeah, so there is, always going to be, tips and tricks and solutions. I was very blessed to have amazing mentors and coaches and stuff. But I really love being in the wellness arena. But why I do the yoga and the yoga and some of the other things that I did was because I understood that physically, right, we have to be in a good place. We have to be feeling better. Exercise will do that, of course. So we have to be in a better place physically, I believe, in order to really help with the mental and to help with developing more confidence and also just like when it comes to mobility, being able to do things that you couldn't do before. Like that's the biggest thing, especially when it comes to having a family and having a partner and all those things. You know, maybe there's certain things that like you have trouble doing potentially, or you know, there's things that maybe you're like restricted a little bit. All of those things that I talked about will give you back your movement. They will give you back truly, they will give you back your movement. It's just that you do need to be habitual about it, and you do need to make sure that you do keep it consistent. So as long as that's what's going on, then you'll be golden. You really will. And I'm really, really, really glad that you're on here, and I'm glad that we got to communicate a little bit. But I do have a oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, yeah. So, and especially with the meditation videos. So, what I liked about creating them, this is like deep cuts. What I liked about creating and what I love about creating meditation videos is that it's almost like a stepping stone, right? Because we're doing a lot of like visualization, we're doing a lot of breath work, we're doing a lot of it's all guided. There's, I think, one or two videos where I do allow for like some silent meditation, but to be honest with you, I'm afraid that I'll be more of a distraction or that, whatever. So I try just to keep it all guided. And it's just, again, really good for like clarity of the mind and kind of seeing things from a completely different perspective. And there are some things that I talk about that I think some people, they're kind of like, that's a little bit out there, and I'm like, just listen and trust me. just listen and trust me. It's not gonna hurt you to open up your mind a little bit in these meditations. It's not gonna, do anything bad to you. Don't worry about all that. So, yes, there's some concepts that are a little bit out there, but I like doing the non-traditional and having it be more of like a stepping stone to somebody being able to do their meditations on their own without being guided, because in all honesty, that's probably the best way to meditate, right? Because then you don't have the distraction of someone on a screen, you don't have the distraction of any of that. Not saying that not to watch my videos, but just saying that the way that I look at it is they are a stepping stone to getting to that point of like full meditation where you're able to do it. Because again, when things come intrinsically, that's the biggest, role in developing a habit, creating change. But making the choice to watch videos about a subject that you want to learn more about, I love that. That's awesome. And that's also an intrinsically motivated person. And that's very important. When it comes to the comments, I think people assume that I'm younger than I really am. Yeah, absolutely. You take care. Thank you so much for jumping on. And I'm so glad that I made that for you today. You take care. So yeah, wow, that was awesome. So if there's any questions, any comments, anything anybody has, go ahead and let me know, because I do have an upcoming client consultation that I do need to get to. So this is kind of your like last chance. If you want to share anything with me, or have any questions about anything, and if not, then that's okay too. I completely understand wanting to stay silent or not, participate a little bit in the live chat. It gets, it can get crazy. It's gotten crazy in the past, don't get me wrong. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so very much. I appreciate everybody that jumped on this live stream. Meant the world to me. Oh, that's the thing really quickly. So when it comes to my live stream schedule, I know that, I just kind of started doing these, and I've been doing them every day. I'm not going to be live streaming every day, so I don't want to set up that expectation. I'm probably going to be live streaming maybe like 3 times a week. But when I can live stream, when I have the time in between coaching or in between creating content, then, and being a mom and all of the other things that I do, right? Then I will definitely jump on a safe community where everybody's supporting each other and having fun though too, right? Again, being well, but staying wild. So, I will see you on the next live stream. I usually will make a community post to kind of give a little bit of a heads up if it's impromptu or not scheduled, okay? So check out that because they're all public, yeah, they're all public for the most part. So go ahead and check that out if you want to know when I'm going to be coming up for a live stream. But again, thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all make my day. I love the engagement. And I will see y'all on the next live stream. So of course, be well, stay wild.